Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into something absolutely wild. Beyoncé, yes, the Queen Bee herself, allegedly sat down and ranked the most talented members of BTS. And let me tell you, the internet is not ready for this list. From vocal powerhouses to dance machines, from songwriting geniuses to stage presence that could stop traffic, every single member brought something different to the table. But who topped the list? Who got snubbed? And why did number one leave fans absolutely speechless? Stick around because this ranking is about to get personal, emotional, and honestly, a little controversial. Let's get into it.
Number 7, Jin. All right, let's kick things off with the eldest member of BTS, the man who calls himself worldwide handsome, Jin, also known as Kim Sok-jin. Now, before anyone starts panicking, let's be clear. Landing at number 7 doesn't mean Jin lacks talent. It just means the competition in this lineup is absolutely brutal. Beyoncé, in this hypothetical breakdown, reportedly praised Jin's vocal tone as one of the most distinct and emotionally resonant in the group, describing it as warm, velvety, and instantly recognizable the moment he opens his mouth. And honestly, that's not an exaggeration. Jin's high notes on tracks like Epiphany carry a kind of raw vulnerability that hits differently live, where his ad-libs and falsetto control showcase years of dedicated vocal training. Born on December 4th, 1992 in Gwacheon, South Korea, Jin actually didn't start out planning to be an idol. He was studying acting at Konkuk University when he was scouted by Big Hit Entertainment. That background in acting, interestingly enough, shows up in how he performs. There's a theatrical, almost cinematic quality to his stage presence that makes him stand out even when he's not the one belting the loudest note. But here's where things get reflective. Jin has often talked about feeling like he had to catch up to his members vocally and in dance, especially early in BTS's career when comparisons were brutal and constant. He's been candid about insecurities, about feeling like the visual member who had to prove he belonged musically too. And honestly, that journey of growth is part of what makes his placement here so layered. Because despite being ranked 7th in this particular list, Jin's solo discography tells a different story entirely. Tracks like Awake, Epiphany, Abyss, and his solo album, The Astronaut, which he co-wrote, by the way, alongside Coldplay's Chris Martin, reveal an artist who has matured into someone capable of carrying deeply emotional, almost orchestral compositions on his own. The Astronaut wasn't just a solo single, it was a deeply personal letter to ARMY, written as Jin prepared for his mandatory military enlistment in December 2022. The lyrics, the delivery, the timing, it hit fans right in the chest, and it showed a songwriting sensibility that goes beyond just hitting notes. It's about storytelling. Beyoncé, known herself for being a perfectionist who values vocal control paired with emotional authenticity, reportedly noted that Jin's strength lies in his consistency and his ability to deliver heartfelt performances even in high-pressure live settings, something that's incredibly hard to fake. Think about it, performing in front of tens of thousands of people, sometimes in stadiums holding 50,000 plus hands, and still being able to hit those soft, breathy high notes without losing composure? That's not luck, that's discipline. Jin's military service became a massive moment for BTS as a whole, as he was the first member to enlist, setting the precedent for the rest of the group's hiatus. And during that time, fans got even more nostalgic listening back to his discography, realizing just how much heart he poured into every release. There's also his variety show charisma. Jin is often the comedic relief in BTS content, known for his dad jokes, his worldwide handsome self-proclamations, and his genuinely goofy personality that contrasts beautifully with his more serious vocal performances. This duality, being able to make people laugh one moment and then move them to tears with a single sustained note, is rare. It's the kind of range that takes years to cultivate, and it's exactly the kind of multi-dimensional talent that someone like Beyoncé, who has built an entire career on versatility, would respect. So why number 7? In a group filled with record-breaking dancers, generational rappers,
stars and producers who've written for global icons, Jin's lane is more subtle. It's about emotional resonance over technical flash. But make no mistake, his placement here is far from a knock. It's a recognition that even at number 7, the bar is set impossibly high. And as we move forward in this list, things are about to get even more intense. Who's next? Someone whose talent might surprise even the most dedicated army. Stay with us.
Number 6. BTS V. Now, we're stepping into territory that's going to spark some serious debate because number 6 belongs to none other than Kim Tae-hyung, known globally as V, the member with arguably the most unique voice in all of K-pop and, honestly, in mainstream music, period. Born December 30th, 1995 in Daegu, South Korea, V grew up in a rural farming household, and that grounded, almost old soul upbringing seems to echo through everything he creates artistically. Beyoncé, in this breakdown, reportedly zeroed in on something very specific, V's baritone. In an industry dominated by high tenor voices, especially in K-pop, where bright, airy tones are often favored, V's deep, husky, almost smoky vocal register is a genuine anomaly, and that's exactly what makes it so valuable. Think about songs like Singularity, released back in 2018 as part of the Love Yourself Tear album. That track wasn't just a song, it was a mood, a cinematic experience built entirely around V's voice and his interest in jazz and contemporary dance. The accompanying short film, choreographed with intense, almost theatrical movement, showed a side of V that felt less like a pop idol and more like a performance artist. And that's the thing about V. He's never been content staying in just one lane. His love for visual arts is well documented. He's spoken openly about his admiration for artists like Jackson Pollock and has even displayed his own paintings, with some pieces reportedly auctioned for charity. This artistic sensibility bleeds into his music. There's an abstract, emotional quality to how he approaches vocals, almost like he's painting with sound rather than just singing notes. Reflect on this for a second. In 2023, V released his debut solo album, Layover, featuring tracks like Slow Dancing, Love Me Again, and the incredibly soulful Rainy Days. This album leaned heavily into R&B and soul influences, genres that demand a certain rawness, a certain vulnerability in vocal delivery, and V delivered that in spades. Critics noted the album's retro, almost vintage production style, paired with V's smoky vocals, created something that felt simultaneously nostalgic and fresh. Beyoncé, who has spent decades mastering the art of blending genres, soul, R&B, pop, even country with her more recent ventures, would likely appreciate an artist willing to take creative risks rather than playing it safe within expected K-pop conventions. There's also V's connection to traditional Korean culture. He's been a cultural ambassador, representing Hanbok and Korean heritage on international stages, including notable appearances tied to UNESCO and various cultural promotion campaigns. This blending of modern global pop stardom with deep respect for cultural roots adds another layer to his artistry. He's not just performing, he's representing something larger. On the personal side, V has often described himself as someone who feels deeply, sometimes overwhelmingly so. He's talked about loneliness, about finding solace in art and music as outlets for emotions that are hard to verbalize. This emotional depth translates directly into his performances. When V sings a ballad, there's a weight to it, a sense that he's not just performing lyrics, but actually living inside them for those few minutes. Fans often describe his live vocals as haunting in the best possible way. That lower register cutting through a stadium of thousands creates this intimate, almost vulnerable moment despite the massive scale of the performance. And let's not forget his work within BTS tracks themselves. His line distribution in songs like Stigma, his solo composition entirely written, composed, and produced by V himself, showcases not just vocal talent, but genuine musicianship. Stigma deals with themes of guilt and self-forgiveness, deeply personal subject matter that V chose to explore through his own songwriting, proving he's not just a voice for hire within the group, but an artist with his own creative voice. So why land at number 6 in this ranking? It's not about lacking talent, it's about the sheer competitiveness of what's still to come. V brings something
irreplaceable, a voice that genre-bending artists dream of having, paired with an artistic mind that constantly pushes boundaries.
Number 5, Jimin. Okay, buckle up, because number 5 is Park Jimin. And if you know anything about BTS, you already know this name comes with an entire universe of expectations attached to it. Born October 13th, 1995 in Busan, South Korea, Jimin is widely regarded as one of the most technically gifted dancers, not just in BTS, but in the entire K-pop industry. And that's not hype. That's backed by years of training, performance footage, and choreographer testimonials. Beyoncé, in this ranking, reportedly highlighted something specific about Jimin: the way he moves with his entire body, how every muscle seems to be telling a story, how his dance isn't just technically precise, but emotionally charged. If you've ever watched the choreography for Black Swan, particularly the contemporary dance film that accompanied it, choreographed by MN Dance Company, you understand exactly what this means. That performance wasn't just dancing, it was a meditation on the fear every artist faces, the fear of losing the ability to feel music, to connect with their craft. Jimin embodied that fear, that struggle, with a physical vocabulary that felt almost theatrical, drawing from contemporary and modern dance techniques that go far beyond typical pop choreography. But here's where it gets even layered. Jimin's vocal ability often gets overshadowed by his dance reputation, and that's honestly a disservice to what he brings vocally. His falsetto is one of the most distinct in the group, breathy yet controlled, capable of carrying incredibly delicate emotional weight. Think about his solo, Lie, released back in 2016 as part of Wings. The song explores themes of guilt and self-deception, and Jimin's vocal performance, paired with flamenco-inspired dance elements, created something that felt almost operatic in its intensity. Fast forward to his solo career post-2023, with releases like Crazy and Set Me Free Part 2. Like Crazy actually made history, becoming the first song by a Korean solo artist to top the Billboard Hot 100, debuting at number 1. Let that sink in for a second. That's not just a K-pop achievement, that's a global music achievement, period. The track itself, a synth-pop, almost Madonna-esque anthem about feeling lost and disconnected, showcased a vocal restraint and emotional vulnerability that resonated far beyond the typical BTS fanbase. Beyoncé, who herself has broken countless Billboard records throughout her career, would undeniably recognize the significance of an artist achieving that level of crossover success. It's not just about talent, it's about connection, about a song resonating with people regardless of language barriers. On a more personal note, Jimin has been remarkably open about his struggles with body image and the immense pressure he's felt throughout his career to maintain a certain standard, something that's deeply tied to the dance-centric role within the group. He's spoken candidly in interviews about extreme dieting habits during earlier years, reflections that sparked important conversations among fans about the unrealistic standards placed on performers, especially dancers in the industry. This vulnerability, this willingness to be honest about the darker sides of fame and performance, adds a human dimension to his artistry that's impossible to ignore. There's also his work ethic. Jimin is famously known among BTS members and staff as someone who practices choreography obsessively, often staying behind after group rehearsals to perfect his own movements, to the point where other members have joked about finding him still dancing in empty practice rooms late at night. That dedication translates directly to performances. Watch any live stage and you'll notice Jimin rarely, if ever, looks out of breath despite incredibly demanding choreography, a testament to both his physical conditioning and his deep internalization of the movements until they become second nature. His 2023 solo album, Face, also deserves mention. Tracks like Set Me Free Part 2 showcase aggressive, almost punk rock energy, paired with intense choreography, a stark contrast to the softer, more emotional Like Crazy, proving his range isn't just vocal, isn't just physical, it's both, simultaneously, at an elite level. So why number 5? Because as undeniable as Jimin's talent is, and trust me, this list could have easily placed him much higher, what's coming next involves members whose influence extends into songwriting, production, and even shaping the entire sound and direction of BTS as a group. The competition from here on out gets even more intense, more layered, more surprising.
Number 4, J-Hope. All right, number 4 belongs to Jungkook, the man known worldwide as J-Hope. And if there's one word that gets thrown around constantly when talking about him, it's sunshine. But honestly, that nickname barely scratches the surface of what this man actually brings to the table. Born February 18th, 1994 in Gwangju, South Korea, J-Hope started his career not as a singer, but as a dancer, training and competing in dance groups around Gwangju before joining Big Hit Entertainment. And that dance background? It's the foundation for what Beyoncé reportedly singled out as one of the most technically explosive performance styles in the entire group. A combination of street dance, popping, and freestyle elements that give his choreography a raw, almost improvisational energy even when every move is meticulously planned. But here's where things get really interesting. J-Hope isn't just a dancer, he's BTS's main rapper, and more than that, he's one of the primary architects behind the group's sound as a producer and songwriter. Credited on dozens of tracks throughout BTS's discography, J-Hope has been involved in production from the earliest mixtapes all the way through their biggest global hits. His 2018 mixtape Hope World was a massive statement, blending hip-hop, EDM, and even Latin-inspired rhythms into a cohesive solo project that charted on the Billboard 200, an incredibly rare feat for a K-pop solo mixtape at that time. Tracks like Daydream and Airplane showcased not just rapping ability, but genuine compositional skill, understanding how to build a song from the ground up, how to layer instrumentation, how to create something that feels both personal and universally danceable. Then came 2022's Jack in the Box, his first full solo studio album, which took an even more experimental turn, incorporating rock elements, distorted vocal choices, and aggressive production choices that felt like a deliberate departure from typical K-pop sounds. The lead single More was raw, almost chaotic in its energy, reflecting themes of self-doubt and the pressure of artistic expectations, incredibly mature subject matter delivered through a sound that pushed boundaries. And then, in a moment that honestly shocked the entire music world, J-Hope became the first member of BTS to headline a major U.S. festival as a solo artist, performing at Lollapalooza in Chicago in 2022. Think about the magnitude of that, performing solo as a K-pop artist at one of the most prestigious rock and alternative music festivals in America in front of a massive crowd that included plenty of non-K-pop fans. Reports from that performance described an energy that completely won over skeptical audience members, proving that his stage presence and charisma translate across genres and cultural boundaries. Beyoncé, someone who herself has redefined what a festival headliner can look like, particularly with her legendary 2018 Coachella performance that became known as Beyonchella, would absolutely recognize the significance of J-Hope's Lollapalooza moment. It's that same energy, taking a stage that wasn't necessarily built for someone like you and completely owning it anyway. There's also his role within BTS as what fans often call the glue of the group, known for his positivity, his ability to mediate during stressful moments, and his genuine care for each member's well-being. But don't let that sunny exterior fool you into underestimating his work ethic. J-Hope has been candid about pushing himself to constant improvement, about studying dance styles from across the globe, incorporating everything from house dance to hip-hop fundamentals into his evolving style. His choreography often features intricate isolations and rhythm-based movements that require not just flexibility, but incredible body control and musicality, understanding exactly how to move in relation to the beat in ways that feel both precise and effortlessly cool. During his mandatory military service, which he began in 2023, J-Hope continued to surprise fans, performing at military camp festivals and even being featured in special military band performances, showing that his passion for performing doesn't switch off even in uniform. So why number 4? Because what's coming next involves talents that fundamentally shaped not just performances, but entire creative directions, lyrical themes, and the global identity of BTS itself. The next 3 placements are going to get personal, emotional, and frankly, controversial in the best way possible.
Number 3, Suga. Alright, number 3 is Min Yoon-gi, known to the world as Suga, though he's also gone by August D for his more personal, unfiltered solo work. And honestly, this placement is going to make a lot of sense once we break down just how much this man has shaped BTS from behind the curtain as much as in front of it.
Born March 9, 1993 in Daegu, South Korea, Suga's story is one of the most raw and honest in the entire group. He's spoken openly about growing up in a financially struggling household, about working part-time jobs as a teenager to fund his music ambitions, even sustaining a shoulder injury from a part-time delivery job that affected him for years afterward. That grit, that hunger, that refusal to give up despite genuinely difficult circumstances, it's baked into everything he creates. Beyoncé, in this breakdown, reportedly pointed to Suga's lyrical depth as something that sets him apart on a global scale, not just within K-pop, but within hip-hop as a genre, period. His August D mixtapes, starting with the self-titled 2016 release, were unflinchingly honest, tackling topics like depression, panic disorder, and suicidal ideation with a level of vulnerability that was almost unheard of for an idol at that time. Tracks like The Last laid bare his personal struggles with mental health in ways that genuinely shocked fans, not because they doubted his talent, but because idols simply didn't talk about these things so openly, especially not in such graphic, unfiltered detail. This honesty became even more pronounced with his 2020 mixtape D2, and then absolutely exploded with his 2023 debut solo album D-Day, the final chapter of his August D trilogy. D-Day wasn't just an album, it was a culmination of years of personal growth, addressing themes of mortality, purpose, and what it means to create art that matters beyond commercial success. The lead single, Hey Gum, incorporated traditional Korean instruments alongside heavy bass and electronic production, a fusion that felt both deeply rooted in cultural identity and aggressively modern. But here's the thing that really elevates Suga's position. His production credits extend far beyond his own solo work. He's been involved in writing and producing for other artists entirely outside of BTS, including collaborations with artists like Halsey on Suga's Interlude, IU on 8, and even contributing production work for Korean R&B and hip-hop artists who aren't part of the BTS or big hit ecosystem at all. This is significant because it shows industry-wide respect for his production skills, other established artists actively seeking him out, not because of his idol status, but because of his actual musical talent as a producer and songwriter. Beyoncé herself has long championed artists who control their own creative output, who write and produce their own material rather than relying entirely on outside teams. And Suga represents exactly that kind of artistic autonomy within the K-pop system, which historically has been heavily producer and company-driven. There's also his composition work for BTS's biggest hits. Suga has writing and production credits on an enormous portion of the group's discography, including chart-topping singles. His ability to blend genres, hip-hop, EDM, traditional Korean sounds, even elements of jazz and lo-fi, while maintaining a consistent artistic voice across all these different projects is genuinely rare. On a more reflective note, Suga's openness about his mental health journey has had a ripple effect far beyond just his own fanbase. He's credited with helping destigmatize conversations about depression and anxiety, particularly within South Korea, where mental health discussions have historically been heavily stigmatized. Fans have shared countless stories about how his lyrics, particularly tracks like Seesaw or Dear My Friend, helped them through their own struggles, creating a connection that goes beyond typical fan-artist relationships into something more like genuine emotional support. His tattoos, his understated stage presence compared to some of the more flamboyant performers in the group, his dry sense of humor that often surfaces in BTS variety content, all of these elements paint a picture of an artist who's deeply introspective, who creates not for spectacle, but for genuine expression, even when that expression is uncomfortable or difficult to hear.
Number 2, RM. Number 2 goes to Kim Namjoon, known as RM, the leader of BTS. And if there's one member whose influence touches literally every single corner of this group's existence, it's him. Born September 12, 1994 in Seoul, South Korea, RM's story is honestly kind of legendary even before BTS. He scored in the top 1.61 percentile on Korea's National College Entrance Exam, the Suneung, and was accepted into multiple prestigious universities,
ultimately studying at Global Cyber University with a focus on law enforcement administration. He could have gone an entirely different, more traditionally safe route academically, but chose music instead, and that intellectual foundation shows up everywhere in his work. Beyoncé, in this ranking, reportedly highlighted RM's role as not just a rapper or vocalist, but as the conceptual mind behind much of BTS's artistic direction, the person responsible for translating abstract emotional and philosophical ideas into cohesive album narratives. Think about the Map of the Soul series, heavily influenced by Carl Jung's psychological theories, or the Love Yourself trilogy, which explored self-acceptance through interconnected music videos, short films, and lyrical themes that built on each other across multiple album cycles. RM was central to shaping these conceptual frameworks, working closely with producers and the company's creative teams to ensure the storytelling remained consistent and meaningful across years of releases. His English fluency, largely self-taught through watching American sitcoms like Friends, became a crucial asset for BTS's global crossover. He's the one handling interviews, speeches, and crucially, that now iconic 2018 UN General Assembly speech for the Generation Unlimited partnership with UNICEF, where he spoke about self-love and the Love Myself campaign, addressing a global audience of young people directly. That speech wasn't just a PR moment, it represented RM stepping into a role as a genuine voice for his generation on an international diplomatic stage, something genuinely unprecedented for a K-pop artist. Musically, RM's solo work tells its own story of evolution. Her early mixtapes, RM in 2015 and Mono in 2018, leaned heavily into introspective, almost melancholic hip-hop and alternative sounds, featuring collaborations with artists like Whale and Warren G, showing early on his desire to bridge K-pop with American hip-hop sensibilities. Then came her 2022 debut studio album, Indigo, which took things even further, incorporating jazz, soul, and indie rock influences, featuring collaborations with artists like Erykah Badu on Closer and Anderson .Paak. Indigo wasn't trying to be a typical pop album. It was deeply personal, almost like an art exhibition translated into music, with RM describing it as a collection of conversations representing different aspects of himself at that point in his life. Beyoncé, an artist who has repeatedly used her own albums as vehicles for deeply personal and even political statements, think Lemonade, or more recently Renaissance and Cowboy Carter, which challenged genre boundaries and reclaimed black contributions to country and rock music, would absolutely recognize a kindred creative philosophy in RM's approach. Both artists treat albums not as collections of singles, but as complete artistic statements with intentional sequencing, themes, and emotional arcs. There's also RM's relationship with visual art. He's an avid art collector, often spotted at galleries and museums around the world, and has spoken about how visual art influences his songwriting process, how a painting or sculpture might spark an entire lyrical concept. This cross-disciplinary approach to creativity, pulling from literature, psychology, visual art, and personal therapy experiences, he's been notably open about attending therapy and how it's shaped his understanding of himself and his art, creates a depth in his lyrics that rewards close listening, layers of meaning that fans have spent years analyzing and discussing. As BTS's leader, RM has carried enormous pressure. He's spoken candidly about feeling responsible for the group's success and struggles, about moments of genuinely considering whether BTS should continue during difficult periods, and about learning to separate his identity from his role as leader. This vulnerability, paired with his clear intellectual and artistic ambition, creates a portrait of an artist constantly wrestling with big questions about purpose, about legacy, about what art is actually for.
Number 1. Jungkook. And here we are, number 1, the moment you've been waiting for. And it belongs to Jungkook, the youngest member of BTS, often called the Golden Maknae. And once you hear why Beyoncé reportedly placed him at the very top of this list, it's genuinely hard to argue otherwise. Born September 1, 1997 in Busan, South Korea, Jungkook earned that Golden Maknae nickname for a reason that goes beyond just being talented. It's about being talented across literally every category that matters in performance. Vocals, dance, rap, songwriting, production, athleticism, visual presence. There's seemingly nothing this man can't do, and do at an elite level.
Let's start with vocals, because this is where Beyoncé reportedly had the most to say. Jungkook possesses what vocal coaches often describe as a naturally gifted voice, a powerful, clear tone with impressive range, capable of both delicate falsetto and explosive belted high notes, often within the same song. But more than just raw ability, his vocal technique has visibly matured over the years through what's clearly relentless training, breath control during high-intensity choreography, pitch accuracy even while performing demanding dance routines, and an emotional delivery that translates whether he's singing in Korean, English, or Japanese. His 2023 solo single, 7, featuring Lotto, became a massive global hit, debuting at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, making Jungkook the first South Korean solo artist to achieve that feat, a record that was historically significant for the entire industry. Then there's Standing Next to You, another single from his debut solo album, Golden, which showcased a completely different vibe, funk and disco-influenced production with intricate choreography that Jungkook performed with seemingly effortless precision, all while maintaining flawless vocal delivery. The Golden album as a whole was a statement, 15 tracks spanning multiple genres, from pop to R&B to alternative rock, demonstrating not just vocal versatility, but genuine artistic range, with Jungkook involved in the songwriting and creative direction throughout. Beyond music, Jungkook's athleticism is well documented. He's an avid boxer, weightlifter, and has spoken about his discipline around fitness, something that directly translates into his stage stamina. Watch any BTS concert footage, and you'll notice Jungkook performing some of the most physically demanding choreography in the group's catalog. High-energy routines requiring explosive jumps, intricate footwork, and sustained athletic output, all while still hitting every vocal note live without lip-syncing, even during the most demanding sequences. That combination, genuinely elite-level singing while performing genuinely elite-level dance simultaneously, is exceptionally rare, even among the world's top performers. There's also his work ethic, which has become almost legendary among fans and fellow members alike. Stories of Jungkook practicing vocals for hours, recording himself, listening back, and re-recording until satisfied, even during periods when he could have rested. His cover songs, posted occasionally on social media throughout the years, became massive viral moments, precisely because they showcased raw, unedited vocal ability. No auto-tune, no studio polish, just genuine talent on full display. And these covers consistently went viral, specifically because listeners couldn't believe what they were hearing was live and unprocessed. On a personal level, Jungkook has talked about the unique pressure of being the youngest member, about feeling like he had to prove himself constantly, about looking up to his older members, and feeling determined to never be the weak link in any category. This drive, this almost obsessive pursuit of improvement across every discipline, is exactly what's allowed him to develop such a comprehensive skill set. He didn't settle into one lane, he pushed to excel in literally everything. His global crossover success, including collaborations and high-profile media moments, performing at the 2022 FIFA World Cup opening ceremony in Qatar, where he performed Dreamers live in front of a massive global audience, cemented his status as not just a K-pop star, but a genuinely global pop artist, recognized across cultural and musical boundaries. Beyoncé, an artist whose own career has been defined by an almost unmatched combination of vocal power, dance precision, and stage command, someone who has set the standard for what it means to be a complete performer for decades. Recognizing those same qualities in Jungkook says everything about why he lands at #1. It's not about being the best at just one thing. It's about being elite across every single thing that defines what it means to be a world-class performing artist. And that right there is why Jungkook tops this list. A combination of raw talent, relentless work ethic, and genuine versatility that, as promised, left everyone speechless.
That's a wrap on this list. If this ranking sparked some feelings, agreement, outrage, or somewhere in between, drop a comment and let us know who you think deserved the top spot. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a deep dive like this one. Until next time, stay curious, stay golden, and we'll catch you in the next video.